Hello, I want to welcome you to my session of the Q4 Crash Course. We're going to be talking about 3 strategies leveraging social media to move the conversation needle in Q4. But first, I want to thank everyone for watching. It's been an amazing event. I've got high expectations to live up to. The other speakers have just absolutely crushed it. So I hope you guys much value as I did. Please use Crush Q4 when you're watching my presentation. Use the hashtag. You can tweet at me, Jack Kozakowski, and I will respond. So let's dive into this. First thing I'm going to talk about is getting visible. So it's almost the end of the year. You've probably had some really good conversations. You've had some good sales conversations where you've really sold the value. You've had a decision maker, or you've had somebody that you ran the demo with, maybe a couple meetings. And now I want to show you how you can use social media to actually become visible to the whole buying party. Because what a lot of sales reps do is they think they've got the deal. They're waiting on either to go higher, or the decision maker said, "Hey, I've got this. I can get the deal done." You get to 2 weeks before the quarter ends, and all of a sudden you find out that they actually can't make that decision, or that there was somebody that you never looped in that you should have, because they killed your deal and you didn't even know that they existed. So here's an example. I've got the decision maker here. Here's maybe one of the influencers. Maybe that's the CFO who really has to sign, but the decision maker hasn't given you that information. Maybe you have the product user, and they're a heavy influencer to the decision maker, and you don't know that they've been using other solutions as well, and that they could essentially kill the deal without you even knowing it. Maybe you've got another executive that needs to be involved in this decision, but this decision maker has a lot of pride. They don't want to admit that to you. And so really what we're trying to do is we want to strengthen and influence the deal and get visible to multiple people who we know are the decision makers. So for this example, I'm going to show you real quick. I pulled up Peter Chun. So if you have Sales Navigator, I'm going to use Lucid Charts as the example. So here's Peter. Let's say that I'm trying to sell him, a technology, and I've had 2 conversations with him. They've gone really good. Maybe he's looped in, Gabe via Mazar, right? And these guys are like, "Hey, we're going to get the deal done." Maybe they will. I'm not saying they won't. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use lead recommendations. So I'm going to see here that Blake is the manager of the account development. So maybe Blake might be the user of the software that Peter's going to buy. I'm going to bypass the board member. And then, here's Carl's son, right? The co-founder and CEO. So my guess is that he'll have an influence on how much money Peter can spend. Even if he's got a budget, Peter will probably go to Carl. And even better is, I see Dan Cook here, Vice President of Inside Sales, Vice President of Sales. Dan and Peter probably make all decisions together. So I'm going to start with Dan. My whole goal here is to just get visible to 4 people around the influencer or the decision maker that I'm talking to. So what I'm going to do is I really want them to know who I am, if that makes any sense. I want them to know so that if I do need them, or I kind of want them to kind of come to me, do some research, and know that this deal is happening. First thing I would do is I'd go to Dan. I'd hover over his LinkedIn link and try to figure out how I can get visible to Dan. So I'll pull up, this tool is called social360.me. It's amazing. If you don't have it, it's a search tool. So what it'll do is it'll tell me everything. It even tells me his email address, his phone number, where he's at, where he's from, what channels he lives on. Is he active on Twitter? Is he active on LinkedIn? What's his cloud score? 40 or higher is usually the only time that I use social selling activities and find it effective. So I know he's 49, so he's a pretty low social media user, but he's social enough. I could see here that he is on PhotoSugar, lucidchart.com. There, I'm going to make sure I follow him. I already am. And then I'm going to look for something that I can give him some business value. So on November 11th, it looks like they had a webinar. So I'm going to favorite that. I'm going to retweet that. And then here's where the next step comes in, which is what I call business value. So let's go back to the presentation. So the second step is get valuable. And what that means is value versus ask. So what a lot of sales reps do, and they don't even a lot of times understand that they're doing it, is that they will just keep asking for something, right? It's like the next step is like ask. Well, right now, if you're kind of in that phase where, it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks before your next meeting, we've got to figure out how can we give business value or personal value, which is one-to-one, right? So I'm going to go back to Twitter, and I know that this is a webinar. Oh, whoops. Okay. Oops. Sorry. And this is a webinar that Lucidchart is running. Now, is Dan a part of that? It doesn't look like that. So I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to see if I can find anything else. It doesn't really look like. It doesn't really look like there's much else to use. I could go through his feed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this webinar and click on the link. And here it is. So when is this webinar? So it's November 17th, so it's tomorrow. So perfect. So I'm going to save this image. Save, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here, and you can use any social publishing tool. I use Sprout Social. It's amazing. And I'm going to say, great webinar, share by, this is where a lot of people go wrong, at DanCook22. And this is our webinar to create a bug report. So this is an IT-based webinar. If you are in information technology, I'd highly recommend this. So you may ask, okay, so what kind of business value does that have? Well, if you think about this, he's a VP of sales. His number one thing that he's trying to achieve is probably to get more leads, right? That's business value. So if I can give Dan the option to get business, I'm going to probably win from a valuable standpoint, because that means there's more leads for sales teams. I'm giving him more options by sharing this to my network, right? So you got to think about value and what's value for the buyer. All buyers are going to have different value. So I'm going to even tag Lucidchart, because I know that Gabe's an influencer as well, and he probably runs their Twitter handle, right? If you are in, and I'm just going to change this to IT. So think about this. I know that I'm giving Gabe value because I'm sharing, helping him on the marketing side, but then I'm giving sales value because I'm giving them a shot at generating a lead. Now, I would go here and I would add the image. And then here's what else I'm going to do. I'm going to take this, copy it, tweet it, and then I'm going to go to LinkedIn. Great webinar. Share it by @ and I'm going to tag Dan. Dan Cook, there he is. If you are in information technology, I'd highly recommend this. And then via Gabe I want to make sure I tag him too. So now I've given 2 people business value. I've gotten visible. I've gotten visible because I went and connected with Dan, looked at his LinkedIn profile, went and retweeted something, and then I went and shared this webinar. So visible, think about retweet like, something that's very simple, what I call as a light touch, and then the value touch would be something that would give him business or personal value. Now the cool thing is I shared this on LinkedIn, So you can see that I tagged Dan, so he's going to get a dinger on LinkedIn letting me know that I'm an advocate, helping him generate leads for his sales team by sharing, good content from a webinar to his network. Gabe is an influencer. He's going to see that I shared, on LinkedIn. He's going to see that I shared on Twitter, showing that I'm helping the marketing team. So I've just gotten and strengthened and influenced my positioning as a sales rep, as an advocate versus the sales rep, which, that's a competitive advantage in sales, right? I'm giving business value to these guys. What other sales reps are doing that? So my goal is that, in the next month, over that time, I'm giving this value, touches, and they're seeing that I'm helping them trying to generate business. They're seeing I'm helping them on a personal level. Maybe they've got, something they're raising money for, and I see that. So the next step, if you've done the first two right, you've got visible, you've got valuable, then the third step is you want to get connected, right? And you kind of want to earn the right to connect. You don't want to just say, I'm not one that wants to just go send a blind connection and say, hey Gabe, I'm talking to, Peter Chun about so-and-so, because Peter could get mad about that. So I want to do it kind of organically and the right way, the water cooler effect. Hey, Jack's been sharing a lot of our webinars. Hey, Peter, are we talking to him about, buying their technology? And also I just want, in the end, when it comes down to it and it's getting closer to the quarter where the deal's got to close, I know that all 5 of those decision makers, if I've done it right, should know who I am. And if I've really done it right, I should be connected to them. And over, the next month when I'm connected, I could be dripping content and so forth and keeping it in front of their Twitter feeds and their LinkedIn feeds to help me strengthen the deal. All right, so the last thing I'm going to say is, it's into Q4, be this fish, right? A lot of sales reps, they are not going to do the right things. They're not going to give the value on the front end. They're not going to really think about how can I help this buyer without just asking them for something all the time. And if you can be that fish, I can tell you right now, the buyer will reward you, because people want to do business with people that they believe are going to help their business outside of just the product they sell. And that's where true partnership comes in. And I think that if you start leveraging social now, you can really get that competitive advantage and it'll pay off. If you ain't throwing no money, then get your funds right.